Hey everybody, happy Thursday. Every Wednesday is New Comic Day, but sometimes it's Thursday. And I like to give you some great reason to go to black-cat-comics.com and pick up something fun to read. This week is packed with stuff that's fun to read. Got a lot to talk about this week, so get comfortable, follow the bouncing ball, and I'll try and get through this as fast as possible. So, gotta start with the DC guys, because this is Generations Forged. This is the biggest thing to happen to DC continuity in a long, long time. There's a lot going on at DC Comics, but this is kind of a big reset button. It's not a big reboot. It's not a brand new universe. It's actually the entire opposite of that. It's the opening up of all the universes. Generation Shattered was a few weeks ago. If you grab that, this is the conclusion. Big old chunky book. Even if you didn't get Shattered, pick this book up. If you're any kind of DC fan, make sure that Generations Forged makes it into your box this week, because this is a book you're going to want to read. This is a book you're not going to want to have the internet spoil for you. Lots of good fun. And I got to mention, it's written by one of my all-time favorite guys, Dan Jurgens. Lots of great artists in here. Like I say, can't say enough about this book. And really quick, while we're on the subject of these mega event things, don't talk a lot about trade paperbacks, but this guy is Crisis on Multiple Earths. This is where all of the multiverse stuff started way back in the day. It used to be a long, long time ago, even before my time, that every summer they would do a JLA, JSA crossover, and that became the big multiverse thing that we all know and love. Before Crisis on Infinite Earths, before all the big events, there was Crisis on Multiple Earths. It's finally collected in one big old book. Tons and tons of awesome, great, classic Justice League stuff. So if you're a huge DC fan, if you love comics history, make sure you pick up this trade this week. Generations Forged, Crisis on Multiple Earths, the beginning and the end of the DC multiverse. Good stuff. And lots of other DC stuff to talk about, like Future State. All this Future State stuff wraps up this week. And honestly, it's been a whole lot more fun than I think people were expecting. This is Aquaman, Batman, Superman. Anything with those two always makes it into my box. Dark Detective, probably the big hit among the whole thing, along with Next Batman. Legion of Superheroes, one of the cult classics from DC Comics. Everybody loves the Legion. Everybody loves Suicide Squad. Superman House of L, probably the only one-shot of all of this. Mostly they're all like two-issue kind of things. This is a one-shot. Again, if you haven't tried any of this, it's only like 2 issues. A couple of them are 4 issues, so it's fairly non-committal, and it's pretty solid stuff. So there's that one, Superman versus Imperious Lex. And like I say, this wraps up kind of all of this Future State stuff, rolls into that Generations. So again, if you've been letting some of this stuff get by you, it's a good time to grab some of these things before the next big wave thing starts. Batman Black and White, another awesome anthology starring everybody's favorite flying rodent, and Harley Quinn from the Batman White Knight stuff, because there's always Batman stuff to talk about, and always something outside of the regular Future State stuff. Last but definitely not least is Nubia, one of the latest offerings from DC's young adult graphic novels. There's tons and tons of these with some of the most popular characters in the DCU, from the Super Sons to Raven, now Nubia. Super popular. So if you've got a younger reader, or if you're just looking for something kind of out of continuity and awesome, that's a big old chunky graphic novel for you. Lots and lots of great DC stuff this week. Good week for the Marvel guys. Been telling everybody to find an X-Men book and get it on their list. This is, of course, the core title, X-Men. That one, Wolverine, because everybody loves Wolverine. And New Mutants are 3 of the top tier X books. Like I say, there's lots of X books going on out there, all different creative teams, different characters, different art styles. But if you were ever any kind of X fan, it's a good time to come back to it. If you don't know much about the X-Men, try one of the books that's out this week, or one of the others like X-Force or Marauders. They're all really popular, really solid. Good time to be an X fan. Black Cat is a title that, of course, we all love around here at Black Cat Comics and Rockin' Milpitas. That's one of your many King in Black books of the week, like King in Black Namor, or King in Black Return of the Valkyries, or Symbiote Spider-Man. Everybody loves some Symbiote Spider-Man, and I love anything written by Peter David, because he's one of the all-time greats. like the aforementioned Dan Jurgens. Amazing Spider-Man number 60. Been talking up this book like crazy. It is just red hot and rock solid right now. If you are any kind of Spider-Man fan, you're loving this book. If you, for some reason, haven't checked out too much Spider-Man, it's a great time to get into this book. Totally classic Peter Parker adventures. Can't say enough about Amazing Spider-Man. I've been talking about that book like crazy. Black Panther is a book that we haven't seen often enough, but is always awesome to get one just in time to wrap up Black History Month. A little bit on Black History Month in just a minute. Captain Marvel and Marvel Snapshots Captain Marvel give you enough Captain Marvel for 1 week, unless you count Miss Marvel. This is Magnificent Miss Marvel, celebrating 75 issues of one of Marvel's newest, most popular characters. And Marvel Voices rounds out your Marvel stuff for the week. Another cool anthology book with some new talent. Lots of different creative teams doing different characters, sort of introducing you to some of the up-and-coming talent over at Marvel. And this, again, is a Black History Month issue. Good stuff there. And a huge week for all the other guys, too. You Look Like Death isn't a very nice thing to say, but it is a very nice comic spinning out of the Umbrella Academy stuff that everybody loves so much. Skull Digger comes out of the world of Black Hammer from Jeff Lemire. If you don't know much about Black Hammer, you're missing out on one of the coolest franchises in comics. Grab that first volume trade paperback, and it will send you to pick up all of the side books like Skull Digger here. Monstrous is one of the biggest Image books ever. This thing has won tons of Eisners. If you don't read Monstrous, you're missing one of the best books in comics. Certainly one of the best books Image does, which is high praise because they do a lot of great books, like Crossover. This is one of their new big hits. And I love the premise of this book. It's sort of the mega superhero event from a universe that you haven't read before. So that's always tons of fun. Everybody knows, big apocalyptic comic book events. And this one introduces you, like I say, to a whole brand new superhero universe. Department of Truth is another new big Image hit. Book we like around here a whole lot. Already gone to multiple printings. This is issue 6, the end of the first arc. If you've missed out on these, grab the trade paperback. Again, I don't talk a lot about trades, but this is a good week to talk about them. That Crisis on Multiple Earths is a book everybody should have. This trade for Department of Truth 1 through 5 is something everybody should have. Pick up the trade, grab this week's number 6, and you'll be all caught up. Stray Dogs number 1 and Two Moons number 1 are your first issue, gotta have it, Image book of the week. Always encourage you guys to grab these Image first issues, because then they turn into books like Department of Truth and Crossover, and it's really tough to dig up original first printings at a reasonable price. Red Sonja and Vengeance of Vampirella are my Dynamite books of the week, because it's a couple good examples of some of what Dynamite does best. Faith is your Buffy the Vampire Slayer book of the week, along with Firefly rounding out all of your Whedonverse stuff. I know my man Josh is taking a little heat these days, but he makes some great universes. If you love the Buffyverse, if you love Firefly, he's taken all of that over to Boom Studios, and they're doing a bang-up job with it. Bloodshot is my Valiant book of the week. Always encouraging you guys to have a Valiant book on your list, because they do great stuff like Bloodshot and Rye and Exo Manowar. Love me some Valiant. And then we got a couple of first issues from some more recent, newer publishers. By the Horns, number 1, is your Scout Comics book of the week. And Nuclear Family, number 1, is your Aftershock book of the week. Always like to point out these first issues from some of the smaller publishers, some of the newer publishers. Gives you an opportunity to jump in on a new title and a new publisher, see what some of the non-Marvel DC folks are doing. And I told you this was going to be a long video, still got more to talk about. Got a lot of Todd McFarlane to talk about. This is your latest issue of Spawn. This is the B. McFarlane cover. Spawn is as awesome as it's ever been. One of the best comics out there. Still one of Image's biggest hits. Still some of the best art in comics. Love me some Spawn. Always have. I've mentioned that along with this giant phone book. This is your Spawn Compendium. This is the new printing of the Spawn Compendium. It contains issue 1 through 50, now in full color. The previous giant tome like this was only in black and white. Now it's in, like I say, full color, great quality pages, everything. If you're a Spawn fan like me, you need to add this to your collection because it's a great way to read the first third of the run. And while we're on the subject of Todd McFarlane, wanted to show you a couple cool action figures. Todd's doing the DCU toy lines these days, and that's your Dark Knight Death Metal Batman, which is awesome. And that's your Damian Wayne, which is awesome because let's face it, nobody does action figures like Todd McFarlane. Todd pretty much reinvented the toy back in the day and put lots of other toy companies out of business in doing so. And well, if you get a good look at that, you can kind of see why. But wait, more Spawn, more Todd to talk about, because this guy is the facsimile for the very first and original Overstreet comic book price guide. If you're a super hardcore nerd like me, you love the Overstreet price guide. If you aren't super hardcore nerd, but you'd like to be one, you need a copy of the Overstreet price guide. This is a facsimile of the very, very first one, all the way back in 1970. And it's tons and tons of fun to look up classic comics and see what they were going for like 50 years ago. I mentioned that in this Todd McFarlane segment because that was the first one and this is the most recent one. It's been out for a little while, but now it's back in print. And just to round it all out, that's the first time you've seen Spawn and Spider-Man on a cover by Todd McFarlane, maybe ever, certainly in a long time, certainly on a mainstream book. So lots and lots of my man Todd for you to pick up this week. And in Black Cat Comics news, lots of fun stuff. So this Friday, 6 p.m., Kazi's Classics, special Black History Month episode of Kazi's Classics, 6 p.m., Facebook, YouTube. Tune in and check out some awesome vintage comics from across the eras, all with a focus on Black history. Got some gems this time around, so you're going to want to catch that. Don't miss out. This weekend, Saturday, Sunday, all weekend is the big DC Comics sale. We've had publishers on sale every weekend, all month. We're wrapping it up with the big DC sale. Love the big DC sale. Pick up some modern comics, pick up some Future State you might have missed, pick up some classic trades, t-shirt, toys. DC everything this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And then tune in Saturday, 2 p.m. for Comic Shop Talk Live as we talk about all great things DC, so Black History Month. Wrap up this whole month of February on Comic Shop Talk Live, 2 p.m. Facebook and YouTube. That's all we got for you for this week. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on Friday.